Join us this Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Time. That's 3 p.m. Mountain, 2 p.m. Pacific, and 5 p.m. Eastern Time for our Seahawks Live Edition, a preview into the NFC Championship game. We're going to be talking about the latest injuries going on with the Seahawks, and we will be talking about every question that you could possibly have surrounding the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams in this NFC Championship game. It's going to be myself. It's going to be Searle. We are going to be breaking down everything that you could want to know or that you need to know before the NFC Championship game. So don't miss out. Hit the subscribe button. Turn on your notifications so that way you keep up with the best team in the National Football League. This is Seahawks Today. I am your host, Will Ortner, and today we're going to be breaking down the latest injury news for the Seahawks, and what great news it was for this Seattle Seahawks team, because I'll tell you right now, there have been an unlucky string of injuries and one really big injury for the Seahawks in that running back room, and that, of course, came earlier this week when ESPN's Adam Schefter ended up going out and reporting that Zach Charbonnet had officially torn his ACL and his season would be done. Now, this was a huge loss for the Seahawks because Charbonnet was really that 1B to the 1A running back that was Kenneth Walker, and Seattle was clearly going to have to come up with a game plan to replace the production that Charbonnet had. Now, I know a lot of fans, myself at times included, can look at the performance that Kenneth Walker had on Saturday night when the Seahawks took down the San Francisco 49ers and go, well, just give every ball to Kenneth Walker, it'll be fine. That's not how the real world works. The Seahawks are clearly going to have a plan for a running back to give him a spell. And Adam Schefter, after giving Seahawks fans bad news on Monday, gave Seahawks some good news on Wednesday, and that, of course, is that running back George Holani had been designated to return back to practice for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, does that mean he will be able to play for sure in the game? No, not necessarily yet, because just because you are designated to return to practice, it does not mean that you are activated off of the injured reserve, which is what Holani has been on since he got his injury. I will say this, I feel fairly optimistic that if Holani is able to play on Sunday, he will be active and will be ready to go. I'm going to ask you in the comment section, do you think that George Holani will play this Sunday? Personally, I think that he will. I think that the Seahawks have had a clear game plan to get Holani back as healthy as possible, and Holani would not be where he's at right now and would not be able to be back this Sunday if he wasn't putting himself through the proper rehab that he needed to do. I think that Holani will play on Sunday. If you agree with me, type agree. If you disagree, type disagree, and let me know down below in the comment section. When you look at the season that Holani had before his injury, it was actually fairly decent for that third-string running back. It was clear that he was not going to get a whole lot of runs, so Holani had to make the most of his opportunities when they were, of course, presented to him, and I felt like he did that. I felt like Holani also made the most of his opportunities in the preseason, where he beat out running back Damian Martinez and Jacardier Wright for that number 3 RB role on the team. Now, Holani still has a ways to go. We saw Elijah Arroyo and Chaz Surratt return to practice because they were designated to return to practice off of the IR for the Seahawks last week, but neither one of them got off the injured reserve and was able to play in the game against the San Francisco 49ers. Holani still has to show in practice that he's able to be there. John Boyle, a Seahawks senior reporter, went into greater detail. If Holani is able to show enough in practice to be ready for Sunday's NFC Championship game against the Rams, that would give Seattle's offense some needed help at the running back spot after Charbonnet suffered a season-ending ACL injury in Saturday's win over the 49ers. Holani, obviously, if he had been 100% healthy, would be the clear number 2 option for this Seahawks squad. But they still have Cam Akers and Velus Jones Jr. as opportunities and players that could potentially step into that RB2 role, depending on if Holani's healthy enough or, frankly, who just has the best week of practice. We're going to be diving into all 3 of these running backs and who would be the best option in just a moment. But before we do, I need to say first, thank you so much for helping us get to 81,000 subscribers. That's such a big milestone for us to accomplish here on Seahawks Today. It feels like just yesterday we hit 80K. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you to everyone who came in and hit that sub button. And now I want to issue a challenge to those of you who have not subbed. We are closing in on Knicks now. They're at 83,000. Obviously, we just hit that 81. Come on in, hit that subscribe button, help Seahawks Today grow, and catch Knicks Now to become one of the biggest channels here at Chat Sports. The backup running backs that Seattle can turn to right now are George Holani, Velus Jones Jr., and Cam Akers. We're going to be going through what each running back does well and how they can add to the Seahawks offense. And we're going to, of course, start first with George Holani. When we look at the former Boise State Bronco, he was a guy who came into this year as maybe a long shot is not a little bit unfair for Holani, but it isn't that bad of a term to say he was a long shot to make this roster. He was a player that was on the outside looking in, and then he came out and actually had a stellar performance this year for the Seahawks in the preseason to earn himself this spot. He's silky smooth. He can run in between the tackles, very similar to Charbonnet, although not quite as well. He can make the big play reads and the big play explosive jumps like Kenneth Walker, although not quite as well and not quite as speedy as K9 on the outside. But what he does a great job of, Holani that is understanding where the holes are going to be and setting up the defense so that he can hit the hole on the offensive side with the utmost precision. I was very impressed with Holani. Frankly, before his injury, I thought he should have got more touches. When you look at a guy like Velus Jones Jr., he has come in since joining the Seahawks and just been a constant professional. He puts himself in a position to be as successful as possible, and when the Seahawks ask him to catch the ball out of the backfield, he's been good at that. When they've asked him to run the football, he's been good at that as well. How do I see him adding into this rushing attack on Sunday? I'll let you know after I tell you about this sweet deal going on right now at chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt. We all have seen the t-shirts where it just says Seattle or Seahawks. Not this one. This one talks about Emerald City football because there is a different type of football that is played in Seattle than anywhere else. We have to understand, and our players have to understand how to hold on to the football so they don't lose it. It's a sweet t-shirt. It's going to go with a lot of clothes that you might wear, a lot of pants that you might wear. Plus, if you're wearing it around the PNW or wherever you support the Seattle Seahawks from, everyone's going to look at that shirt and go, hey, that's pretty darn snazzy. It made a 9 into a 10, an 8 into a 9, and so on and so forth. It was an insane deal, still is. It was $35. It's now $17. Chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt. Chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt. Chatsports.com/Seahawks shirt today. Velus Jones Jr. did look good last week. He was the third string running back for the Seahawks, and so he had to have a lot of run against the San Francisco 49ers. I thought he did a very good job of running in between the tackles and running outside on the edges without forcing too many things, without having the potential to fumble the football. Now, in his career, Velus Jones hasn't been all that productive. So I don't know that he's the guy that the Seahawks necessarily want to turn to in this big of a game. Cam Akers on the other side, he's your third potential back. Now, he's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. He would be the type of running back that would have a little bit more success for the Seahawks running in between the tackles, but more importantly, running in between the guards, which is what we saw Zach Charbonnet do as more of the power back between him and Kenneth Walker. Cam Akers would probably fill that role just a little bit better than anybody else. What I would say about Cam Akers is that he's been with this team now for a couple of months, so he knows the system, he knows the plays, and he should be able to excel if called upon to go in and play for this Seahawks squad. There is going to have to be a clear difference between how the backup running back runs and the plays that are called for them as opposed to Kenneth Walker. Before I let you know who I think should be the second back for this Seahawks squad on Sunday, I want to ask you who you think should be RB number 2. If it's George Holani, type GH. If it's Velus Jones Jr., type VJ. If it's Cam Akers, type CA down below in the comment section. I want to see that spam down below, whoever you think will be the best second option for the Seahawks in the rushing attack. My clear choice is George Holani. If he is 100% healthy and he's able to come off IR, it should be Holani making the run for the Seahawks. Why? Because he understands the system the best. We've seen him have success in this rushing attack in the preseason. And most importantly, I feel the most comfortable with the ball in his hands. He's the perfect option between still running a little bit like Kenneth Walker while having a little bit more strength to run like Zach Charbonnet. But at the end of the day, if that RB2 is going to have success when they touch the football, it's going to be because of this offensive line unit. We've seen Cross, Zabel, Sundell, Bradford, and Lucas get better and better as a unit every single week this year for the Seahawks. And what I think is the most important about this crew here is that they can open up holes wider than the Grand Canyon, and then it doesn't matter who your running back is. It could be me, it could be Searle, it could be your grandmother. If the hole is 15 yards wide, you're going to get at least 5 or 6 from it. Imagine what the rest of the Seahawks running backs would be able to do. Seattle is still going to have to rely on Kenneth Walker. He's going to get the bulk of the carries. He should have somewhere between 20 and 25 touches in this ball game. He is going to have to do all the heavy lifting, but I know and believe that he will be able to do so. We've seen what he can do in the playoffs as the number 1 back. It's not going to be as easy against the Los Angeles Rams, but I still trust K9 over every other option to be able to lead this Seahawks team in the ground game. Because you have to be able to run the football if you want to be able to win games in the postseason, especially if there's going to be a little wet, a little rain, or if it's just going to be a typical Seattle day where it's cold and dark and gray in January. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. Make sure that you come on in and hit that sub button. Just got over 81K. Who knows? Maybe we'll get to 82K later on this week. Thank you guys again so much for viewing today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.